Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today's story is about John, Unassuming Worker, Chapter 1, The Gray Skies of Newark. In the heart of the bustling town of Newark, where the chimneys of factories reached for the heavens like desperate hands and the relentless rain painted a somber canvas across the sky, there lived a man named John. He was an unassuming worker in the town's largest textile mill, where the clatter of machinery drowned out the whispers of dreams and the laughter of happier days. John had lived in Newark all his life. Born into a modest family, he had inherited the legacy of generations before him to toil away at the looms and spindles that sustained the town. It was a place where dreams went to die, and hope was a distant memory. Each morning, John would wake before dawn, slipping into his tattered overalls as his wife, Mary, brewed a weak pot of coffee. They exchanged fleeting smiles, their eyes bearing the weight of 1,000 unspoken burdens. Their children, Emily and Thomas, slept soundly in the cramped bedroom, oblivious to the harsh reality outside their home. As John trudged through the cobblestone streets towards the mill, he couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between the town's name and its spirit. Newark had never lived up to its promise of prosperity. The mills had once promised a better life, but now they devoured the hopes of those who entered, grinding them into dust. The mill's entrance was an imposing sight, with towering brick walls that seemed to touch the clouds. The gates creaked open, and John joined the sea of weary faces as they shuffled in, their spirits dimmed by the perpetual gloom that hung over the town. Inside, the deafening roar of machinery enveloped him, making conversation impossible. John found his place at the loom, where he would spend the next 12 hours of his life. The monotonous rhythm of the machines and the mechanical nature of his work left him with ample time for his thoughts to wander. Today, as he worked the loom, John couldn't help but think of the dreams he had once held dear, dreams of escape, of providing his family with a life beyond the factory walls. But those dreams had long withered, replaced by the stark reality of his existence. As the day dragged on, the rain outside intensified, casting a shadow over the town that mirrored John's own inner turmoil. The raindrops, like his tears, fell silently, unnoticed by the world outside. By the time the whistle signaled the end of the day's labor, John was physically drained, and his spirit was a mere whisper of what it had once been. He trudged back home through the same cobblestone streets, his footsteps echoing the rhythm of his heartache. Little did John know that the gray skies of Newark held many more storms, and his journey through them was only just beginning. Chapter 2: The Weight of Debt. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the monotony of life in Newark wore on John like a relentless storm. The mill remained his prison, and the promise of a better future continued to elude him. Each evening, as he returned home to Mary and their children, John carried not only the exhaustion of his labor, but also the weight of an ever-growing debt. The meager wages he earned barely covered their basic needs, leaving nothing for the dreams he had once cherished. One cold, dreary evening, as John sat at the kitchen table with a flickering candle casting long shadows across their faces, Mary spoke with a tremor in her voice. "John, we can't go on like this. The rent is overdue, and the landlord has threatened to evict us if we can't pay soon." John sighed, his heart heavy with guilt and helplessness. He had kept the burden of their mounting debt hidden from Mary, not wanting to add to her worries. But now, the truth could no longer be concealed. "I know, Mary. I've been trying to save a little each week, but it's not enough. The cost of living keeps rising, and my wages stay the same." Tears welled up in Mary's eyes as she looked at her husband, the man she had loved since they were children. "We can't lose our home, John. It's all we have. What are we going to do?" John held her trembling hand in his calloused palm, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'll find a way, Mary. I promise. We won't lose our home, and our children won't go hungry. We'll make it through this somehow. But deep down, John knew that their situation was growing increasingly dire. The mill demanded more of him each day, leaving him physically and mentally drained. Any hope of saving enough to pay off their debts seemed like a distant dream, fading further into the horizon with each passing day. That night, as John lay in their modest bed with Mary nestled beside him, he stared at the cracked ceiling, wrestling with his own inadequacies. He was a good man, a loving husband and father, but in the unforgiving world of Newark, goodness alone was not enough to keep the wolves of debt at bay. As the hours ticked away, the shadows danced across the room, reflecting the uncertainty that gripped John's heart. In the darkness, he made a silent vow to himself, a vow to find a way out of the suffocating grip of debt, for the sake of his family and the dreams they had once held dear. But the path to salvation in Newark was a treacherous one, paved with sacrifices and despair, and John was about to embark on a journey that would test the limits of his endurance and the depths of his resilience. Chapter 3: A Glimmer of Hope. Weeks turned into months, and John's life in Newark remained a relentless cycle of labor and debt. The mill continued to extract every ounce of his strength, and the burden of their financial troubles weighed heavily on his shoulders. But amid the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source. One evening, as John trudged home through the same familiar streets, he noticed a small crowd gathered around a weathered poster that had been plastered on a wooden wall. Curiosity piqued, he approached the gathering, his tired eyes scanning the faded words. Newark Annual Arts and Crafts Fair. Grand prize of $500. The words leapt off the poster, igniting a spark of inspiration within John. A glimmer of hope, like a distant star in a cloudy night sky, beckoned him. He couldn't help but imagine what $500 could mean for his family, a way out of debt, a chance for his children to have a brighter future. The fair was a long-standing tradition in Newark, a rare moment of respite from the grinding monotony of daily life. It was a celebration of creativity and craftsmanship, a day when the townsfolk could showcase their talents and perhaps earn a prize that would change their lives. John had always been skilled with his hands, a talent he had developed during his years in the mill. He had a vision of crafting something beautiful, something that would capture the hearts of the judges and the townsfolk alike. He didn't know what it would be yet, but he knew he had to try. That night, after Mary and the children had gone to bed, John sat at the kitchen table with a scrap of paper and a pencil. He sketched out ideas, designs that danced in his mind like elusive dreams. He thought about the intricate patterns he could weave, the colors he could blend, and the emotions he could evoke through his craft. With each stroke of the pencil, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. The weight of debt still hung over him, but now there was a glimmer of hope, a flicker of light that pierced the darkness of his despair. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, with long hours of work and sleepless nights, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of determination that pushed him forward. In the days that followed, John devoted every spare moment to his craft. He scoured the town for materials, traded favors with neighbors, and poured his heart and soul into his creation. Mary, seeing the fire in her husband's eyes, offered her unwavering support, even if it meant tightening their already frugal budget. As the date of the fair drew nearer, John's hands became calloused from his work, but his spirit remained unbroken. He knew that his entry into the competition was not just a chance to win a prize, it was a chance to prove to himself and his family that there was more to life in Newark than endless toil and debt. The fair represented a glimmer of hope, a beacon of possibility in a town where hope had grown scarce. And John was determined to seize that opportunity no matter the odds. Chapter 4: The Birth of Beauty. In the dimly lit corner of their modest kitchen, John continued to toil away on his creation. The days melted into nights, and his hands, once accustomed to the roughness of factory machinery, now delicately maneuvered the materials he had gathered. His entry into the Newark Annual Arts and Crafts Fair took the form of a tapestry, a masterpiece that would hopefully captivate the judges and the hearts of the townsfolk. It was a labor of love, a tribute to the beauty that could still be found amidst the grime and gloom of their town. The tapestry was a kaleidoscope of colors and patterns, each thread carefully chosen and woven with precision. John's hands worked tirelessly, his fingers dancing across the fabric like a conductor leading an orchestra. He poured his heart and soul into every stitch, infusing the tapestry with the dreams he had once held dear. Mary watched her husband's dedication with admiration and worry. She could see the toll it was taking on him, the lines etching deeper into his tired face, the fatigue that threatened to consume him. But she also saw the determination, the fire in his eyes that had been absent for so long. As the days passed, John's creation took shape, and it became a source of fascination for Emily and Thomas, who watched in awe as their father transformed raw materials into a work of art. Their innocent curiosity breathed life into John's tired spirit, reminding him of the dreams he had for their future. The day of the fair arrived, and Newark's usually somber streets were adorned with colorful banners and stalls. The townsfolk, weary from their daily struggles, gathered in the town square, a rare moment of unity and excitement. The air was thick with anticipation, and hope fluttered in the hearts of those who dared to dream. John carefully wrapped his tapestry and made his way to the fair, Mary and the children at his side. As he approached the judging area, his heart raced with a mixture of anxiety and hope. The competition was fierce, with talented craftsmen and artists from all corners of Newark vying for the grand prize. The judges, a panel of esteemed artists from neighboring towns, examined each entry with a discerning eye. John watched, his breath held, as they approached his tapestry. He had poured everything into this creation, and it was now in their hands to decide its fate. After what felt like an eternity, the judges huddled together, their voices low and earnest. Mary squeezed John's hand, her own heart pounding with anticipation. Emily and Thomas clung to their father's coat, wide-eyed and hopeful. Finally, the judges stepped forward, their faces revealing nothing. The head judge, an elderly woman with a kind smile, held out a ribbon of the deepest blue. John's heart soared as she spoke. For its beauty, craftsmanship, and the hope it brings to our town, we award the grand prize of $500 to John of Newark. The crowd erupted in cheers, and tears welled up in Mary's eyes as she hugged her husband tightly. Emily and Thomas clapped their small hands, their faces lit with joy. In that moment, the weight of debt and despair seemed to lift, replaced by a glimmer of hope that had taken root in the heart of Newark. John's creation had not only won a prize, it had ignited a spark of inspiration and possibility in a town that had long forgotten the meaning of both. The fair, once just a tradition, had become a symbol of resilience and the enduring human spirit. As the fair continued, John and his family basked in the warmth of their newfound hope. The $500 prize was a lifeline, a chance to clear their debts and perhaps even dream of a life beyond the factory walls. But more than that, it was a reminder that beauty could be born from the most unexpected places, and that in the darkest of times, a glimmer of hope. Chapter 5, Dreams on the Horizon. With the $500 prize from the Newark Annual Arts and Crafts Fair in his pocket, John felt a renewed sense of purpose and hope. The weight of their debts, once suffocating, had begun to lift, and the future seemed just a bit brighter for his family. As he stood before the mill's imposing gates, the morning after the fair, John hesitated for a moment. The familiar clatter of machinery and the stifling atmosphere inside the factory had defined his life for so long, but now, he couldn't help but entertain the idea of something more of a future beyond the mill. With a deep breath, he turned away from the mill and walked back to the heart of new work. The townsfolk greeted him with smiles and congratulations, for his victory had brought a glimmer of pride to their struggling community. He could see the hope in their eyes, the belief that change was possible. John's first order of business was to pay off their overdue rent, ensuring that his family would not lose their home. He watched as Mary's eyes filled with relief when he handed the landlord the money, and a burden they had carried for so long was finally lifted. With the remaining funds, John made a careful plan. He decided to invest in a small workshop where he could continue to create his tapestries and crafts. It would be a modest start, but it represented a step toward a life outside the mill. The workshop was a modest space, tucked away in a corner of their home. John spent long hours there, pouring his creativity into each piece he crafted. His tapestries gained popularity, not just in New Work, but in neighboring towns as well. Orders began to pour in, and John's once tenuous dream of supporting his family through his art became a reality. Mary helped manage the workshop's finances, ensuring that every penny was accounted for. Emily and Thomas, too young to fully understand the family's struggles, saw their parents' dedication and learned the value of hard work and perseverance. With each passing day, John's workshop thrived, and their financial stability improved. It was still a modest life, but it was a life filled with hope, laughter, and the promise of a better future. The once bleak skies of New Work seemed to brighten, mirroring the newfound optimism in their hearts. As the years went by, John's craftsmanship continued to evolve, and his tapestries became sought after by collectors and art enthusiasts. His creations told stories of resilience, of the beauty that could be found even in the harshest of circumstances. One day, a renowned art dealer from a distant city visited New Work and discovered John's work. Impressed by its depth and emotion, he offered John the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to showcase his art in a prestigious gallery in the city. It was a decision that would change the course of John's life forever. The prospect of leaving New Work, of pursuing a career as a renowned artist, was both exhilarating and terrifying. He had come so far, but the pull of the city's vibrant art scene and the potential for greater success tugged at his heart. As he stood at a crossroads, John looked at his family, the source of his strength and inspiration. It was a decision that would impact them all, and he knew it wouldn't be an easy one. But as the sun set over New Work, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, John couldn't help but feel that the dreams he had once held dear were now within reach, shimmering on the horizon. Chapter 6: A Farewell to New Work. The decision weighed heavily on John's heart as he grappled with the offer to showcase his art in the prestigious city gallery. Leaving New Work, the town that had been his home for a lifetime, felt like an agonizing choice. It was a place of hardships and resilience, a place where he had learned the value of hard work and the depth of his own creativity. John called a family meeting one evening, gathered around the same kitchen table where he had once sketched out his dreams. Mary, Emily, and Thomas listened intently as he explained the opportunity that had presented itself. The gallery in the city could catapult his career as an artist to new heights, but it meant leaving behind the familiar comforts of New Work. Mary, ever the practical one, asked the questions that weighed on everyone's minds. "What about the workshop, John? It's our livelihood now. And what about Emily and Thomas? They've grown up here." John looked at his family, his heart heavy with the responsibility of the decision. "I know it won't be easy, Mary, but it's a chance for all of us to have a better life. We can find a way to sell the workshop and move to the city. There, the children will have access to better schools and opportunities they could never have here." Emily, now a young teenager with dreams of her own, spoke up. "Dad, I've always believed in your art. If this is your chance to make it big, we should go for it. We'll make new friends, and I can continue my studies." Thomas, too young to fully comprehend the implications, nodded in agreement, mirroring the determination in his father's eyes. After much discussion and soul-searching, the family made the difficult decision to say goodbye to new work. They sold the workshop, packed their belongings, and bid farewell to the town that had been their home for generations. The journey to the city was both thrilling and daunting. The bustling streets and towering skyscrapers were a stark contrast to the quiet simplicity of Newark. John's art garnered attention and accolades, and he quickly made a name for himself in the city's art scene. The dreams he had nurtured for years were finally taking flight. But the transition was not without its challenges. The fast-paced city life was a sharp departure from the close-knit community of Newark, and the family faced moments of homesickness and uncertainty. They missed the familiar faces and the comfort of the town they had known for so long. As John's career continued to flourish, Mary and the children adapted to their new surroundings. Emily pursued her studies with passion, and Thomas, with the boundless curiosity of childhood, embraced the city's diversity and opportunities. Years passed, and the family thrived in their new environment. John's art was celebrated on a global scale, and their financial struggles became a distant memory. Yet, amid the success and the glittering city lights, they never forgot their roots, the gray skies of Newark, the strength forged in adversity, and the dreams that had carried them forward. Every now and then, they would return to Newark, visiting the town that had shaped their lives. They found comfort in its familiarity and were greeted with warmth by the townsfolk who remembered their journey. The memories of their time in Newark were etched into their hearts, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of dreams. As the family looked out over the town they had once called home, they couldn't help but feel grateful for the winding path that had led them from the shadows of Newark to the vibrant tapestry of their new life, a life filled with dreams realized and a future filled with endless possibilities. Chapter 7: The Echoes of Newark. Years turned into decades, and the family settled into their life in the bustling city, far from the gray skies and cobblestone streets of Newark. John's art continued to flourish, and he became a respected figure in the world of contemporary art. Emily had pursued her own path, becoming a successful architect, and Thomas had grown into a compassionate teacher, inspiring young minds. Their lives in the city were a stark contrast to the struggles they had faced in Newark, and the memories of their hometown were often tinged with nostalgia. John's art had evolved, but he never forgot the tapestry that had won him the grand prize and marked the turning point in their lives. One day, while visiting a gallery in the city, John came across a collection of artwork from emerging artists. Among the pieces, he noticed a striking tapestry, a tapestry that bore a striking resemblance to the one he had crafted in Newark. The colors, the patterns, and the emotions it evoked were all too familiar. Approaching the young artist responsible for the piece, John introduced himself and asked about the inspiration behind the tapestry. The artist, a talented newcomer named Lily, explained that she had grown up in Newark and had been deeply moved by the stories of resilience and hope passed down through generations. As John listened to Lily's words, he realized that the tapestry he had created in Newark had left an indelible mark on the town's history. It had become a symbol of hope and inspiration, inspiring a new generation of artists to capture the beauty that could be found even in the harshest of circumstances. Touched by Lily's story, John purchased her tapestry and invited her to visit his family. When Lily arrived at their home, she was greeted with warmth and gratitude. Emily and Thomas, now with families of their own, shared stories of their childhood in Newark and the dreams that had carried them to the city. Over the years, John and Lily developed a close friendship, collaborating on art projects that combined their unique perspectives and experiences. Together, they created a series of tapestries that celebrated the resilience of Newark and the enduring human spirit. As the years passed, John and his family continued to visit Newark, sharing their stories and art with the town that had shaped their lives. The once sleepy town had begun to change, with new opportunities and a growing sense of hope. The echoes of Newark's past were still present, but they now carried the promise of a brighter future. The gray skies of Newark remained, but they no longer cast a shadow over the town. Instead, they served as a reminder of the strength and determination of its people. The town had become a place where dreams were nurtured rather than abandoned, where the echoes of the past were woven into the fabric of a hopeful future. And as John and his family looked out over the town that had once been their home, they couldn't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought them from Newark to the city and back again, and for the enduring power of art and dreams to transform even the bleakest of landscapes into something beautiful and full of hope. Chapter 8: The Legacy of Newark. The bond between John, Lily, and the town of Newark continued to grow stronger with each passing year. Together, they embarked on artistic endeavors that celebrated the town's resilience and its enduring spirit. One of their most ambitious projects was the creation of a mural that would adorn the walls of the Newark Community Center. The mural would tell the story of the town's journey from a place of hardship to a symbol of hope and renewal. As John, Lily, and a team of local artists began working on the mural, they invited the townsfolk to share their stories and experiences. The community rallied behind the project, and the walls of the community center soon became a canvas for the collective memories and aspirations of Newark. The mural depicted the gray skies that had once cast a shadow over the town, but it also showcased the vibrant colors of hope that had emerged. It told the stories of families, like John's, who had faced adversity and had found the strength to pursue their dreams. The completion of the mural was a momentous occasion for Newark. The townsfolk gathered for an unveiling ceremony, their faces filled with pride and emotion. As they looked at the mural, they saw their own stories reflected in its vibrant colors and intricate details. The legacy of Newark was no longer defined solely by its hardships, but by the resilience of its people and the beauty that had emerged from their struggles. The town had transformed into a place where creativity flourished, where dreams were nurtured, and where hope was a tangible force. In recognition of their contributions to the town, John and Lily were honored with the keys to Newark in a heartfelt ceremony. The town that had once been their home had now become a symbol of their artistic journeys and the enduring bonds of community. Years passed, and John's family continued to split their time between the city and Newark. The town had seen a resurgence in economic opportunities, with local artisans and craftsmen finding success and sharing their talents with the world. Emily and Thomas, inspired by their father's and Lily's artistic journeys, had instilled a love for creativity and resilience in their own children. The legacy of Newark had become a living testament to the power of dreams and the enduring spirit of its people. As John and his family looked out over the town from the same hilltop where they had once stood, they couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. The gray skies of Newark had become a symbol of transformation, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, beauty could be born and dreams could take flight. Their journey had come full circle, from the cobblestone streets of Newark to the bustling city and back again. And in that journey, they had discovered the true meaning of resilience, the enduring power of art, and the legacy of a town that had found hope in the most unexpected places. And so, as the sun set over Newark, casting a warm golden glow over the town, John and his family knew that their story, like the mural that adorned the community center, was now woven into the tapestry of the town's history, a tapestry that celebrated the past, embraced the present, and looked forward to a future filled with endless possibilities. Thanks for watching.